With front and rear gearboxes complete, it's time to start building out and adding more to these, starting with the rear, and so it's on to bag F, the rear end assembly. With this bag we are looking at the rear assembly, so we'll need to work with the rear gearbox section we've built from the previous bag, and with that to hand we can go ahead and empty the contents of bag F. In this bag we have the rear arms, very rigid and of a high quality in typical Tekno RC fashion, making them perfect for the abuse that a Nitro Buggy is likely to endure. We also have our 2.5mm sway bar, along with all the sway bar mounting parts and other general hardware. Just as we have with previous Tekno RC builds, I like to deviate from the build instructions a little and start with the arms first, just so I don't have the sway bar flopping around in the meantime. So with that said, we'll start with the inner hinge pin brace. We have some customizability here, depending upon which insert you wish to use to set your squat levels, although as this is a stock build, we'll go with the default center dots, and once cut from the tree, these slide into position within the C block. Once ready, the hinge pin brace can now sit straight onto the rear gearbox, just under the rear drive shaft, and is secured with two 14mm button head screws, again only until snug. Double check orientation here, the two holes should be facing inwards towards the gearbox so that the hinge pins can sit inside. With that said, we'll move across to our first arm now, where we insert the 10mm droop screw into the inner center, followed by the hinge pin bushings, one on either side, and then the hinge pin itself, before seating into position into the hinge pin brace we just installed, pushing the hinge pin right back into the brace. No reaming required, and the arm should be relatively free moving. Repeat with the second arm, so 10mm droop screw, hinge pin bushings, and hinge pin, before securing to the opposite side. Take care with orientation here, the flat side of each arm should be facing forwards. We can now secure by covering the outer hinge pin brace. Again, we'll stick to stock positions, so we're using center dot inserts again, before placing the D block into the rear of the gearbox, taking care to capture the hinge pins while doing so, and secure with a single 10mm button head screw. And that's our arms installed. Notice how free these are, no reaming required at all. Okay, so with the arms in place, we can now concentrate on the installation of the sway bar. Start by inserting the sway bar itself, followed by two plastic spacers that push into the rear of the gearbox, and then insert a sway bar screw mount into each and down towards the center. Note that the collar end faces away from the center, after which we can insert 4mm set screws into both. Next, we need to grab our sway bar linkage and insert a pivot ball into either end, one with just the ball, and one end has a small collar. The Tekno shock tool comes in especially handy here. Repeat with the second linkage arm too. Insert one end of the sway bar into the collared pivot ball and use a set screw to secure down into position, along with a little thread lock applied too, before placing the other end of the linkage into the suspension arm and securing it into position by inserting a 20mm cap-head screw through the arm and the pivot ball, securing it in place. Repeat the same process on the opposite side, securing the sway bar into position. And that's the rear end assembly and bag F complete. The rear end is starting to take shape nicely now, and although we're 6 bags in, everything has pieced together with perfection, no issues at all. Don't put this to one side just yet though, as we'll continue to build on it with kit bag G, containing the rear hubs and camber links.